Chris Reynolds sat at his kitchen table, sipping his morning coffee as he scrolled through his inbox. It was a routine he had followed for years. Checking work emails, glancing at newsletters he never subscribed to, and skimming through his PayPal statement to confirm the few small transactions he made each month. He clicked on the email from PayPal, expecting to see a balance of a few dollars, maybe a couple of hundred if a recent eBay sale had gone through. But as his eyes adjusted to the number on the screen, he felt his breath hitch. His hand, steady just moments ago, now trembled slightly as he gripped the mouse. The number stretched across his screen, an impossible sum, larger than anything his mind could comprehend. A cascade of zeros followed the digits, rolling out like an absurd joke. It wasn't a typo. It wasn't a glitch in his monitor. It was real. Chris blinked. Once. Twice. He leaned closer, his coffee untouched, the steam rising in lazy spirals as his brain tried to make sense of what he was seeing. This can't be right. His heartbeat quickened. Was this some elaborate scam? A phishing attempt? His first instinct was to check for some fine print at the bottom, maybe a promotional trick or a bizarre PayPal notification he'd never seen before. But no, there it was. Your PayPal balance as of July 2013, 92 quadrillion. A number so vast it felt like staring into an abyss. Chris let out a short, incredulous laugh. For a man who had never seen more than $1,000 in his PayPal account at once, this was beyond absurd. A number so large it surpassed the wealth of the richest billionaires on earth, combined. He pulled out his phone, opened the PayPal app, and logged in. The number was still there. His pulse raced. Was he hallucinating? Did he just become the wealthiest man in human history overnight? There was only one way to find out. With a mix of curiosity, excitement, and a growing sense of unease, Chris reached for his laptop and began typing. His world had just changed. He just didn't know how yet. Chris Reynolds stared at his screen, the impossible number still glaring back at him. He reached out and rubbed his eyes, as if that might reset reality. But when he looked again, the balance remained unchanged. 92 quadrillion. A number so absurd, so incomprehensible, that his mind refused to process it. For a moment, he just sat there, fingers hovering over the keyboard. What was he supposed to do now? Call PayPal? Surely they'd catch this any second now. Or should he just log out and pretend he never saw it? But curiosity had a stronger pull. Chris clicked on the transfer money button. His pulse pounded as the page loaded. Could he actually move even a fraction of this ridiculous fortune? His fingers hesitated before he typed in a test amount. 100. So, just a small bite, just to see if it worked. He hit enter, a moment of silence. Then, error, unable to process transaction. Please contact customer support. Chris exhaled, half relieved, half disappointed. Of course, it wouldn't be that easy. PayPal had to have some kind of security system in place to stop random people from transferring millions, let alone quadrillions. Still, the thought lingered in his mind. What if it had worked? The possibilities rushed in like a tidal wave. He imagined paying off the national debt, funding every charity in America, buying out entire sports franchises with a single click. The entire world economy could shift at his command. His lips curled into a grin. So this is what it felt like to be the richest man alive. A nervous chuckle escaped him. This was absurd, ridiculous, and yet thrilling. Just for fun, he opened a new tab and searched, what can you buy with $92 quadrillion? The numbers that came back only made the situation more surreal. The entire GDP of the United States, 16 trillion, pocket change. The total wealth of every billionaire on earth, a measly few trillion. The cost to buy every single company listed on the stock market, not even close. Chris leaned back in his chair, his mind spinning. For one brief moment, he thought, I'm richer than the entire world. He tapped his fingers on the desk, the weight of the situation finally hitting him. This was his account, his name on that statement. If anyone saw this, if word got out before PayPal fixed the mistake, would he become a target? Would someone try to come after him? Chris shook his head, trying to push the paranoia aside. He had to be smart about this. But first, he needed to know if anyone else had seen it. Grabbing his phone, he pulled up his wife's number. Honey, you're not going to believe this. Chris Reynolds took a deep breath as the phone rang. His wife, Andrea, picked up after the second ring, her voice casual, unaware that her husband had just become the richest man in history, at least on paper. Hey. What's up? Chris hesitated. How exactly does one explain that they've just stumbled into an impossible fortune? He glanced back at his laptop screen, the numbers still staring back at him like an unsolved riddle. You sitting down? He asked. Andrea chuckled. Why? You finally sold those old car parts in the garage? Not exactly. He exhaled sharply. I think I just became a quadrillionaire. Silence. Then laughter. Okay. And I'm the Queen of England? Seriously? What's up? Chris swiveled in his chair, rubbing his forehead. I'm not joking. I just checked my PayPal account, and it says I have, well, let's just say more money than every billionaire on Earth combined. Another pause. This time, no laughter. Chris, are you feeling okay? I swear. Andrea, I'm looking at it right now. She sighed. All right, send me a screenshot. Chris quickly snapped a picture and texted it over. He waited, staring at his phone screen as the three little dots appeared. Typing, typing, then stopping. Then, finally, her response came through. Well, what the actual... A moment later, his phone rang again. He barely had time to say hello before Andrea blurted out, Is this real? Chris laughed. Well, it's in my account. So yeah, but obviously it's a mistake. Andrea was still processing. Okay. So what do we do? I mean, you didn't click anything weird, right? This isn't some scam? You're sure your account isn't hacked? Chris shook his head, even though she couldn't see it. Nope, logged in like I always do. No weird links, no emails asking me for my password. Just this, okay? First of all, don't touch it. Andrea's voice had turned serious. What if PayPal realizes this and thinks you did something shady? Just leave it alone until they fix it. Chris scratched his chin. Yeah, that was my plan. But what if they don't catch it right away? Andrea scoffed. Come on, Chris. They handle millions of transactions a day. You think they won't notice a $92 quadrillion mistake? Chris shrugged. I don't know. I mean, what if this happens to other people and they just never report it? Andrea groaned. Babe, this is not like finding an extra $20 in your account. You are one button click away from being on the FBI's watch list. Chris chuckled. Okay, fair. I won't touch it. Andrea sighed, her voice softening. Look, I know it's funny, but don't do anything crazy. Just let it sit there. If PayPal doesn't catch it in a day or two, maybe call them. Chris nodded. Yeah, you're right. Andrea paused. Also, just for fun, if it were real, then what's the first thing you'd buy? Chris grinned. The Phillies, but only if I get a good deal. Andrea burst into laughter. All right, fake billionaire. Try not to let the power go to your head. Chris hung up and leaned back in his chair, staring at the screen again. The number was still there, still hauntingly real. Was PayPal about to catch their mistake? Or would he wake up tomorrow and still be the richest man in the world? Chris tossed and turned in bed that night, his mind restless with possibilities. He knew the money wasn't real. PayPal would fix the mistake any moment now, but what if they didn't? What if, by some bizarre twist of fate, he actually got to keep it? Would he call a financial advisor? A lawyer? The president? His thoughts spiraled. By the time the morning light crept through the blinds, Chris had barely slept. He rolled over, grabbed his phone from the nightstand, and, with a mixture of curiosity and dread, opened the PayPal app. His heart pounded. $92 quadrillion? Still there. Chris sat up straight, rubbing his face. Unbelievable. This wasn't just some late-night hallucination. The error remained, untouched, unchecked. Either PayPal hadn't noticed, or, more terrifying, maybe their system couldn't process such a ridiculous amount. He threw on a shirt and hurried downstairs. Andrea was already up, sipping coffee and scrolling through her phone. She looked up at him. Well, Chris held up his phone. Still a quadrillionaire, Andrea sighed. Chris, he grinned. I know, don't touch it. She set her coffee down and crossed her arms. I was thinking last night, what if this is some kind of test? Like, some crazy ethical experiment? Chris raised an eyebrow. From who? PayPal? Are they running a secret would you steal a quadrillion dollars study? Andrea shrugged. Stranger things have happened. Chris chuckled and sat down. I mean, technically, I haven't done anything. It's just there. He drummed his fingers on the table. What would happen if I tried to spend it? Just a little? Andrea narrowed her eyes. Don't even think about it. But curiosity gnawed at him. He opened his laptop and navigated to Amazon. Could he, in theory, buy anything? He typed in private jet and scrolled past the listings. each one priced at tens of millions. A single click. That's all it would take. He hovered over the buy now button, his finger twitching. Then reality set in. This isn't yours. Chris sighed and closed the tab. He wasn't a criminal. He wasn't going to push his luck. Still, he couldn't help but wonder how many people, given the same situation, would actually resist temptation. His phone buzzed, snapping him from his thoughts. A notification from PayPal. Chris's pulse quickened as he tapped the message. Important notice regarding your account balance, dear Mr. Reynolds. We have identified an issue with your PayPal account balance and are actively investigating. Please do not attempt any transactions at this time. We appreciate your understanding. His stomach flipped. They knew. Chris looked up at Andrea. Well, that was fun while it lasted. She smirked. Told you they'd catch it. Chris leaned back and exhaled, staring at the ceiling. The moment was slipping away. Soon, he'd be just another guy with a normal bank account. But for one day, just one day, he had been the richest man on earth. Chris stared at the PayPal notification, his heart still racing. They knew. Of course, they did. A $92 quadrillion error wasn't going to fly under the radar forever. He exhaled, setting his phone down on the kitchen table. Andrea took a sip of coffee, watching him. So, what now? Are the feds on their way? Chris chuckled. I hope not. I don't think they arrest people for receiving money by accident. She smirked. Tell that to the IRS. Chris ran a hand through his hair. Honestly, I don't know what happens next. Maybe PayPal just fixes it and moves on. Maybe they send me a whoopsie email and pretend this never happened. Andrea tilted her head. Or maybe they sue you for emotional damages. Chris shot her a look. Not helping. His phone buzzed again. Another email from PayPal. He hesitated before opening it. Correction notice, account balance, update. Dear Mr. Reynolds, we have identified and corrected an error in your account balance. Your updated balance is now accurate. We appreciate your patience and understanding. Please disregard any previous incorrect statements. As a gesture of goodwill, we would like to offer a donation to a charity of your choice. Please respond with your preferred organization, and we will facilitate the contribution. Chris let out a slow breath, and just like that, it's gone. Andrea leaned over and glanced at his screen. Back to zero? Chris nodded, flipping his phone around to show her. Yep, reality restored. She sighed dramatically. Well, it was fun being married to the richest man alive for a day. Chris grinned. A whole day? Try 24 glorious hours of financial domination? Andrea rolled her eyes. So, did you pick a charity? Chris thought for a moment. Nah, I should tell them to donate it to me. I seem to have misplaced my quadrillions. Andrea smirked. Or you could ask them to buy the Phillies for you. Chris snapped his fingers. Genius. Hey, PayPal, I know you guys can't give me $92 quadrillion, but how about just one Major League Baseball team? They both laughed. The absurdity of the situation finally sinking in. The news spread quickly. Within hours, media outlets were running headlines like man becomes richest person in history. For a moment, PayPal error briefly turns customer into a quadrillionaire. Reporters wanted interviews. Social media erupted with memes about quadrillionaire Chris and jokes about how he should have at least tried to buy something extravagant before the mistake was fixed. Chris took it all in stride. He wasn't bitter. He wasn't upset.